The Americans that come to my talk, they think we are different, that we are a different kind of country, that we were based, we're a country founded on values, not other kinds of identities. And whenever I talk about issues like freedom and liberty and democracy, that's when people get inspired. So, but we got to come and we got to make those arguments.
But one of the things that worries me is that I don't think the American people understand why preserving the democracy in Taiwan and the autonomy of Taiwan is so important to the world we want to live in, symbolically and practically. Symbolically, if the United States allows, if we and our allies allow a democracy of 23 million people to simply be swallowed in one big bite by an autocracy, it's not going to end there. It's going to shred confidence in the democracies of the world, in the United States, and lead to a fundamental shift in the balance of norms and the balance of power. And practically, if China takes over Taiwan, just look at the map. It's going to move its submarine fleet from Hainan Island to Taipei and control the whole, what we call Western Pacific. That's their exit from the first island chain. The majority of the semiconductor industry and like 90% of the most valuable high-end semiconductors are being manufactured in Taiwan. The leadership of that is going to shift, and the economic disruption is going to lead to a global depression. But I don't see a broad understanding of this in the American public, and therefore a willingness to do what is necessary and put our chips on the table to decisively deter China. Now, please tell me I'm wrong in my perception.
Well, first of all, that was a great laydown and we should get that message to the American people, Larry. We have quite a few of the American people with us here tonight, a couple of thousand, but I would say a couple of things. Yeah, I spoke at Montana State last week. I was down in Fresno a few weeks ago. And when my book comes out, I have this commitment. It's broader than just your question. But I really do believe part of why we're in the mess we're in right now is because elites, including me, did not explain these arguments to the American people. And we just said, we'll take care of this in Washington and New York and Cambridge and Palo Alto. And we created a vacuum. And Mr. Trump came in with a different set of arguments that are kind of powerful, right? Like, even my mom in Montana, she's like, Mike, why should I send my money to Ukraine? I got my own problems here in Montana. We have to have an answer to that. And the book I wrote, Larry, is a big answer, way too big, way too long. But then I want to go and make that argument to the American people, because when we make the argument, I'll say something pessimistic and optimistic. To your specific question, this argument is not well understood, and it has to be made. Taiwan comes up in every one of my talks, and it is a hard sell. So the way you just articulated is the right way to do it. Having said that, the broader thing I'm struck by, is when I go to places like Montana State. First of all, 400 people show up. In Fresno, we had 1,100 people show up for a talk about America's place in the world. So this notion that people don't care, not interested, I get it that these are, it's blue dots in red states. I got that, but I'm always struck by how many people want to listen. And I'm also struck to the theme that we're here today to talk about democracy and America's place in the world. There's a kind of cynicism in the Trump administration that Americans don't care about democracy and freedom and all this stuff. But when I talk about these things, those are my biggest applause lines, because Americans don't want to be just a cynical transactional country. The Americans that come to my talk, they think we are different, that we are a different kind of country, that We were based, we're a country founded on values, not other kinds of identities. And whenever I talk about issues like freedom and liberty and democracy, that's when people get inspired. So, but we got to come and we got to make those arguments. We just can't assume that people will go along with them. And especially today, when we see the Trump administration gutting the architecture of American soft power, we've got to go to places like Montana and Idaho and, J.D. Vance's hometown in Iowa, and Ohio, excuse me, Middleton, Ohio. I gave a talk about my last book in his hometown because I wanted to go see, well, where he's from, Hillbilly Elegy, right? And just so you know, everybody, if you've read Hillbilly Elegy, Middleton, Ohio, it's a nice place compared to where I grew up in Butte, Montana. But all seriousness, we've got to go and make this alternative argument, and I actually think there's an audience there for it.
Next week, please join us when the New York Times columnist Bret Stephens will be in conversation with our longtime regular here at America at a Crossroads, Larry Mantle, to discuss, still, I can't believe it, 45 months to go, Trump, America, and the world. Thank you so much for joining us.